we're transparent with them, and we invest in you guys, because without our people, we're nothing. If everybody gets up and walks out of here tomorrow, how are we going to build any work and be able to keep the lights on? So especially for people just getting into business ownership and really getting where they're having employees, you have a responsibility to your employees, because they're putting food on your table and you're putting food on their table, and it's a symbiotic relationship. So you got to take care of those that are taking care of you.
Welcome to Making Sparks, the podcast where we ignite your passion for metal fabrication and fuel your business success. Join industry leaders and dive deep into the world of metalworking. From business insights to tips of the trade, Making Sparks is your forge of knowledge. During each episode, discover success stories, innovative solutions, and expert interviews that light the path to business growth. Subscribe today and grow and improve your company, and let's make sparks fly together.
Welcome back to Making Sparks. I'm your co-host, not host, because Matthew's the real host, but we just been acting like I'm the host. Sitting here virtually with Matthew in our office. He's upstairs. I'm downstairs. Mason and Chloe are behind me. They're not supposed to talk, so we'll see if they do that. And we got a special guest coming all the way from, I think, Denver, Colorado. But I'll let Matthew introduce, because that's his job. Introduce him, Matthew.
Yeah, what's up, Rob? We got Rob Sublette, like we're going to sublet a project out. Right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and he is from Colorado, and he runs a fabrication company. So I'm very excited to talk to him today, and I think you've got a really cool story, and then also maybe there's some transition planning going on in your family that we're going to talk about. I think that would be something really cool and unique that we haven't talked about a lot on the podcast. I think a lot of our audience has either experienced that or going to be experiencing it in the future, or just interested about it in general. So some family succession planning going on there. So yeah, I'm excited to have you on, and let's just kick it off by you sharing a little bit about who you are with the audience.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having me. My name's Rob Sublette. Like you guys said, I work for my family's business. I'm the vice president. We're a medium range fabricator here in Denver, Colorado. We've been in business 33 years. Started off as a kind of field welding, like rig welders. My dad's been a welder for 45 years. So we started off doing that, and then slowly kind of got a shop to support the field welding side of things, the pipeline side of things, and just building small stuff, and then kind of started growing it through there and chasing the oil and gas sector. And then we got out of oil and gas probably the last downturn, 2015, 2016, and really dove off the deep end into getting into bigger, heavier structural and miscellaneous metal fabrication and a lot of custom fabrication. So 2017, we moved into our current facility, bought a Python X, and just jumped off the deep end into heavy structural fabrication. I myself, I've been here 7 years on the books, I always say, my whole life in reality. My main background is pipeline, facilities, compressor stations, water and wastewater pipeline, and treatment plants and stuff like that. So our main forte is, I'd say, water infrastructure. So all things water pipeline, water treatment plants, and wastewater facilities and stuff like that. We've done probably 90 to 95% of all the major water lines that are welded steel pipe in the state of Colorado in the last 30 years.
That's very cool. I'm going to be coming out your way here in a couple of weeks. I'm going out Colorado elk hunting.
Oh, right on.
Typically, I would drive right through Denver, but I'm going to fly this time. We're going to fly into Steamboat.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, good area.
Yeah. Well, so you guys you still do pipe. Your background's in pipe, and you talked about structural steel, but you guys still do a lot of pipe fabrication today. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. So we have 3 divisions: a custom fabrication division, our structural division, and then our field welding, which is mainly water pipeline. So we have single hand field welders that run our welding rigs that we build in-house. And then we have rig welders that have their own trucks and we put out on jobs. And So right now we're probably working on 6 or 8 major water pipelines right now, and they range from 40 or 30 inch in diameter to 72 inch right now, 75 inch, I think.
How many?
Wow, that's cool. So how many total, just for our audience to have an idea, kind of the scope of your business, how many total employees
That's what I was gonna ask.
do you have?
Right now we're 25 employees. And then with the contract rig welders, we're about 33, I think.
Yeah, good size. Yeah, I would say it's a very relatable size to a lot of our audience. And
Yeah. I always tell people we're kind of right in that in between. We're not a big stadium builder, big high rise builder, but we're also not, a little shop with 4 or 5 guys. We're kind of right in that perfect niche for Denver.
are you guys AISC certified?
We are not AISC certified. It's something that we're looking into pursuing. It's just been so crazy busy the last year, so we haven't really just gotten to roll our sleeves up and dig into it.
Well, if you're that busy, yeah, I mean, I don't know that you have to put a huge emphasis on it. That's interesting. Yeah, we are AISC certified, and I think we intend to maintain it. But yeah, it's great that you're that busy. Well, there's a lot going on in Denver, so that helps, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Good tailwind. Yeah. So what kind of projects are, and from a structural fabrication standpoint, what kind of projects are you guys doing most of? I mean, is it commercial, industrial, institutional, all the above?
A lot of commercial industrial. Like I said, a lot of water and wastewater treatment plants, which is, can be a lot of aluminum and things like that. But right now we're doing a couple of buildings that are rolling through the shop. Quite a bit of handrail. We do a lot of handrail and like trash racks for reservoirs and stuff like that. And then we've been in kind of our pivot into water and wastewater. We've started just supplying a lot of appurtenances like fabricating in-house tapping saddles, butt straps for pipelines, small piping appurtenances that the big pipe fabricators don't want to supply because it's just not in their scope really to jump down to that small stuff. So we kind of pick up those crumbs and supply them to people. And then we do, I'd say, quite a bit of tenant improvements. We're starting to get away from it a little bit just as we pivot, but I'd say that's another bread and butter spot for us.
I'd love to know.
So that would be.
Sorry, go on.
Go
I was
ahead.
going to say, I'd love to know what your role is right now as a VP.
So it's kind of a lot. I mean, as you guys know, small business, you wear a lot of hats and it shifts on the go a lot. But so I took over for my dad. My dad was vice president of operations, and then he recently retired, which he's right back out of retirement welding for us as we speak right now. But I pretty much run the day to day. And then I also directly manage all of the field welding division and all of those projects. And then just oversee the shop and CFAB from a higher level. And then my mom is our president, and she runs, all the backside, all the books, administration, all that good stuff, the invoicing, billing,
So did your parents start the business together?
Yep. My parents started the business together. My mom was in oil and gas. My dad was in oil and gas. They actually met on a drilling rig. My mom was head of of a drilling program down in Durango, Colorado. And so she'd go out to the rigs, and she was a geological engineer, and my dad was a welder working for roustabout companies and stuff like that. And that's how they met. And then decided, we should go out and do this on our own. And so they bought a truck, and my dad just started, going out for his contacts that he knew and working for, people that he had worked for years, and split out on his own. And then my mom also owned a consulting business. So she kept running her consulting business while running our business out of the basement. She'd come home from work and kind of run it all at night and get the invoicing out and stuff like that. And then we just slowly grew it from there. And about 10 years in is when she sold her part of the consulting business and went into Mountain Man full time once we were big enough that we could handle the overhead.
Hey guys, it's Nick from Making Chips, and I gotta tell you about our new show, Lights Out. When someone talks about being lights out, what comes to mind? For me, it's Michael Jordan. He's got the ball, the game's on the line. Or it's Leo Messi taking that ball up to take a penalty in a penalty shootout. These guys are elite and they're unstoppable, and you just know they're not going to miss. But I also think about the technology, automation, process, and most importantly, the mindset of the manufacturing leaders with the best shops in the world. Every episode will equip and inspire you to run lights out so you can sleep soundly while your shop never stops. Because we all know, if you're not making chips, you're not making money. So check out the new Lights Out podcast by Making Chips. I will see you there.
Yeah, that's awesome. American dream right there, man. That's
Yep,
incredible.
exactly.
Yeah. So what's going on today? It sounds like maybe some transition underway. Your dad just retired. Assume you're planning on taking over the business.
Yeah, so I'm actually buying the business from my parents in its entirety. So kind of a little bit different. I mean, some people do it, some people don't, but I really wanted to be able to say that I bought the whole thing out from them and took it over, and we kept rolling, and it wasn't just a pass down deal. So we're kind of in the middle of our succession planning, and that was kind of the first step, was getting my dad retired and me taking over that aspect of things. And then, we're just slowly kind of, I wouldn't say restructuring, but just trying to restructure my mom's role, because she does so much as the president. So I'm trying to take over part of her role, but we're trying to get the accounting side, squared away, because I'm not an accountant and I can't sit there and do numbers all day.
So are you putting someone in place as kind of a head of accounting or something to take that part over for your mom, for her to take over the environment?
Yeah, that's where we're going to have probably like more of a controller position put into place. So we did have a senior accountant, and then we needed to kind of move to a higher level role. So we're putting a controller in place that can handle those duties, and then I'll handle, kind of the flip side of things while still being able to, do what I need to do on the day-to-day side. And then also I'm training my replacement currently for taking over the field division, so that there's somebody running that day-to-day. Because it just, when you're working for 24 contractors at one time, that's a full-time job in itself. So you find yourself working in the business rather than working on the business, which is really hard when you're trying to, keep everybody on the same trajectory.
Yeah. On that topic, any tips you have for the audience on balancing that in the business versus on the business? I know over the years I've instituted quite a bit of structure around that and found it to be helpful, but anything you could share on that topic? Because I think that's a almost universal challenge, right, for senior leaders and owners.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to figure it out myself right now. And, I think it's hard in our business. Like when we were in oil and gas heavy, we were at times 100 plus employees. So we were significantly bigger than we are now. And we just got sick of riding the waves. And when you get back down to where you're this size and you're wearing a lot of hats, I think it's really hard to figure out how to work on your business, because sometimes it can almost feel selfish when you have, people that need help and you need to make managers just step up instead of bailing them out, or jumping in and saying, yep, let me take this over. I would say probably the biggest tip is that I have for people who are kind of crossing the threshold into a company like our size would be find out where your overhead's at, where your above the line expenses are versus your below the line expenses, and, see where your burdens are and what your overhead can handle. Because we've done at this size, we've made the mistake of, okay, we need, we have a chief for almost every single Indian here, and then we're like, well, we're not making any money. And it's because we've got, 100 people doing 100 jobs, and let's see where we can slim it down. But it's a thin line. So for me, where I've figured it out is like just finding my really good managers, like our operations manager. Him and I came up in this business together, and, he runs two divisions himself. He runs the custom fab and the structural division. and manages all those guys. And that takes a huge weight off my shoulders. And if I have to go out of town, I don't have to worry about anything. So I think it's really just finding your key people and identifying them and finding where your holes are at. We actually did something earlier this year. We did some personality testing, which there's probably a more politically correct term for it.
We do that too. I'm a big advocate.
Yeah. We did disc assessments just to see like, where is our hole at? Because, we're a cohesive team, but, sometimes things aren't always getting done in the time frame that they need to be. And, we figured out, okay, we're kind of missing this spot of the disc. Like we've got a lot of doers and, our leaders and things like that, but we need somebody that's our driver and pushing things right along, so that's helped a lot too, just identifying key people, key roles, and where to place them.
If anybody in the audience is not familiar, he's referring to DISC, which is one of these great personality. We use DISC as well. There's predictive index is another one people use a lot. Another one is Myers-Briggs, which is I think probably the most robust, probably the most costly as well. But any of these, they're fantastic. Oh, also Patrick Lencioni's group, the table group, they've got one out. It's called the Working Genius.
Casey, the 6 types of working genius. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Lencioni, isn't it? I'm pretty sure. But we're big Patrick Lencioni fans here. The table group is his consulting arm. He's got a whole book series, but they've got one called the Working Genius, which it's really more oriented toward like what kind of work. It's not necessarily the disc, and the other ones are how you interact with each other, which is really good. This one's more about what type of work inspires you to be at your best and like energizes you. We all have like, they call it working genius, but the kinds of things that give you energy and what are the kinds of things that take energy from you. And so, a really detail oriented person loves doing that kind of stuff. And whereas that would bog somebody else down, or an introvert would get bogged down by having to be social. So anyways, those are great resources that I think could be valuable for those in the audience. And love to hear a little bit about how you guys have utilized DISC. Are you leveraging them for so for example, there's a thing where you can fill out and create like an ideal candidate before you post a job. Have you guys done that? You can get 3 or 4 managers to take a survey and say we were going to hire a sales job. Everybody puts their opinion in. It gives you a survey you fill out, and then it kind of produces a profile, and you can match people against that. Have you done anything with that yet?
Not yet. We're still pretty early on into it. Well, we did it with a past management group, like when we were heavy in oil and gas, so probably about 10 years ago, and built those job descriptions out and things like that. Right now we were just trying to identify our key roles and then where our holes are at. And another big thing that actually getting into DISC assessments really taught me was, you look at your managers and your key people and you think, I have this route for them. And then you get their DISC assessment and it says, hey, actually, they're working outside of their comfortability and you're heading them straight for burnout. They're working outside of where their personality trait is. And I think you lose sight of that as a business owner because you do wear so many hats that you don't really get a choice if you want to work outside of where your personality's at. If you have to shift roles, and you don't have a choice and you don't get to burnout. You have to keep pushing through. So it helped me really look at it and look at a couple of my people and say, okay, I think we need to shift some things around here and maybe get them in more of a role that is better for them so we don't burn them out and they walk in one day and say, I quit, I'm done, and there's no coming back from it.
Yeah, I totally agree. So what are some other things you're working on right now? If and when you do find time to work on the business, what are you working on?
I think the transitioning is the biggest one right now. So we went through our first phase of succession planning earlier this year, and I bought my first piece of the business from my parents. And then we're kind of phasing it out over the next couple of years so that I can gain enough equity in the business to go for an SBA loan where I don't have to put down, some crazy amount of money. Like I think it's 20%. And I think if you have 20% ownership stake in the business, you only have to put down 10% through the SBA. So that's really been our big focus this year, has been transitioning. My mom's plan is to retire to part-time by the end of the year. And then we had to make an accounting shift like I was talking about earlier. So we're really focused on getting, a new accountant controller in and getting them up to speed so that she can feel comfortable dialing it back and really just getting to the point where she's doing what she wants to do and getting to travel and work from home or wherever her and my dad are at. So that I would say is our main focus right now. And then the other thing too, we're probably working on the most is just a little bit of rearranging and restructuring. We bought a large piece of equipment that just got finished installing last month and getting it up. So we're going to probably maybe shift a person into sales a little bit more to sell that piece of equipment and just maybe move some key roles around to help spread the amount of work that's coming in. Because right now it's just, as you guys know, it's hard to find help and competent welders and fitters and stuff. So we're doing a ton of work and it just keeps flowing in and there's not enough guys to build it and stuff. So really just shifting things around and seeing how can we better do this without burning our people out.
What was the new piece of equipment you got?
We bought a petty laser, plate laser. So the 30 kilowatt, 8x20, that'll do up to 3-inch plate.
Hey guys, it's Nick from Making Chips. I want to give you 3 quick reasons why you should check out Mike Payne's podcast, By the Numbers. Mike, my good buddy, my partner on Making Chips, is full of wisdom. He's full of experience. He's full of what it takes to buy, sell, and lead a business, specifically a manufacturing business. So all the numbers that you should be focused on to improve your performance, that's what he's the master at. The second reason, Mike's the first person I call. If I'm looking at a new idea, a new partnership opportunity, a new acquisition, any new initiative where I need to dive into the numbers and figure out how to approach it, Mike is who I go to. And third, you got to love that buttery Tulsa King voice that Mike rocks. It just soothes your soul. It gives you the confidence to elevate your leadership. Jokes aside, if you love making chips, or if you're just passionate about improving your business performance and the financial performance of your company, check out By the Numbers by Making Chips, hosted by my good buddy, Mike Payne.
I was up at FabTech last week or a couple weeks ago, and one of the things I came back and I told our executive team, I said, if there's one thing that stuck out to me about FabTech, it was laser, laser, laser. And, it's funny that we're saying that because, laser cutting's been around forever. Mm-hmm. But it was just like there was this aha moment, tipping point where it was like, oh my gosh, plasma is, it's on the way to obsolescence. Everything's moving. You never would have thought about cutting structural steel with laser 5 years ago, but everything's moving to that. And even the beam lines, looking at cutting with laser here in the near future. So yep. I would just say, if you don't have your eye on laser way beyond sheet metal cutting, just that's definitely around the corner. And it'd be really interesting to hear how that machine works for you guys and how happy you are with it. Plate burning's a big thing on our radar too. We have a plasma burn table we've had forever, and we have a 2-year-old Bystronic laser, but it's geared mostly for our production sheet metal. Plate and sheet like a traditional laser setup. Yeah, high volume. So our structural burning is largely outsourced from service centers, like a lot of people do. Yep. So that's something that's definitely hot on our radar in the future too. So,
yeah, so far it's definitely been worth the investment. It's been absolutely incredible. I think one of the biggest things for us, especially being in structural, is now being able to cut the same size hole as the same thickness as plate, and it's a true hole top to bottom or smaller. The other day we were cutting 332 holes in 1-inch plate, and they were perfectly round from top to bottom. And just the kerf, the width of the kerf is less than a 32nd on 1-inch plate. It's incredible.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I'm glad I asked now what the machine was. That's a big investment. I understand why you're, looking at focusing some sales efforts around that. So.
Yeah, biggest investment we ever made. But I figured if I'm jumping off the deep end into buying a business, we might as well just sign up for all of it and figure it out.
Go for it, man. Yeah.
That's actually made me think of a question. Like, does two things. One, when you invest in that, and you're like, first off, does your team know that you are taking over ownership? I'm assuming they do. Do they know that you're taking over ownership, or that you're in the process of doing that?
Yeah. We're very, very transparent with our team. I mean, we really try and, always be the small family owned business. And I've found my mom and I have found that we get a lot more buy-in with more transparency. I mean, obviously they don't need to know everything, but the more transparent we are and open with things, a lot more buy-in, especially from the guys on the shop floor and out in the field that are, doing the brunt of the labor. When we sit down and talk through things with them, I think that it makes them feel comfortable about the future and know that there's a level of comfortability where you have somebody that's buying the business, that's experienced, knows the business. They're not running risk of just having some random person off the street buy it and change it.
Well, and that's why I was thinking, like, with the piece of equipment, now they're also, because you kind of said it, I'm jumping in, right? I'm going to buy this, our most expensive piece of equipment or investment we've ever had. And I think that gives, in my idea, that'd give the team a little bit of confidence. Like, Rob's not just buying, he's not transitioning in ownership. He's also investing. Like, oh, this is cool. This is exciting that he's investing in the business a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. It's something that my dad always taught me was, we're skilled fabricators. We're highly skilled fabricators. We're skilled tradesmen. Probably the most, I like to say, we're the most skilled trade. It takes so long to learn it and get good at it. And so he always, preached, like, you have to have the best equipment to do your job properly. I mean, you can get away with stuff, but with the way the world's changing and the way that fabrication is changing, it's all about production. Who can be the fastest, who can be the cleanest. And with laser coming out and all this other stuff, it's just to stay on top and to stay growing, you got to jump off the deep end and take that risk. And so I've just always believed that, we got to have the right equipment. And I think it's really helped our guys because they see that we're constantly making investment in them. It's not just talked about, it's done. We buy, big welding machines, top of the line welding machines. We buy big equipment and we replace equipment when it needs replaced. I mean, our plas table was starting to get to the end of its useful life, and we made a move and pulled the trigger and didn't say, well, let's just see how long we can limp this thing along for. And it really keeps the morale up with the guys, and it keeps the pride in it. And especially with the younger generation, we see a lot where, pride is thought of differently, or it may not be the first thing, that these guys bring in. And so it really helps us to instill in them, like, look, you're working on a laser that costs $1 million. Like, keep it like it's your own, rather than here we have this, oxyacetylene table from 1990 that we're limping along that nobody wants to take care of,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we see that a lot too. I think there's a component of keeping up with technology. Obviously, you got to do it to be competitive, but I think there's a component of that of attracting top talent as well. And we've been on the wrong end of that equation too. I would say we're definitely not, out in front on that. I mean, we've grown so much so fast that we've really struggled. And now that our growth has slowed down, we're able to reinvest in improvements like you're saying. And I guess what I'm saying is we have found that we've benefited from that from a recruiting standpoint, which was not something we necessarily anticipated, right? We weren't buying new machines for that reason, but it was like, oh wow, like to your point, they take a sense of pride in running a newer machine and take better care of it. And I'd say particularly the younger generation. So for what it's worth, if you're, I guess, on the fence about making those investments, just know that I think that's an ancillary benefit at a minimum that comes along with it.
100%. And that's, I tell a lot of people too, my family and we're not in business to make all the money in the world. We're in business to provide a place for people to come provide for their families. So I'm not in this to take all this money away. And I think with social media and stuff, a lot of people are getting into business thinking like, oh, I'll be able to go make, $1 $100 million a year and it'll be easy and all this other stuff, but they don't see all the behind the scenes of it and everything. And we really pride ourselves on, we put all of our money back into the company. We're fair to ourselves, but you don't get to pay yourself a bunch of money and buy a laser at the same time. So
Well,
I really try and stay relatable with the guys and, just we're transparent with them and, we invest in you guys because without our people, we're nothing. If everybody gets up and walks out of here tomorrow, how are we going to build any work and be able to keep the lights on? So especially for people just getting into business ownership and really getting where they're having employees, you have a responsibility to your employees because they're putting food on your table and you're putting food on their table, and it's a symbiotic relationship. So you got to take care of those that are taking care of you.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah. Well said. I have a two-part question that I want to save it for the end. Casey, what you got?
I was just going to follow up a little
mind?
bit on you. Like a little while ago, you said, when something breaks down, you guys replace it. Obviously, you're investing. If you see a technology that you guys need, you guys go get it. Not like to get real detailed in like finances, but do you guys have like a budget, a working budget that you say like this is for our equipment? Like do you err on the side of like
CapEx.
yeah, like a
budget.
little fluffier CapEx budget? And because like some companies are the way you say, where they're like, we're going to ride this out. We're going to make sure this piece of equipment, we don't have it in our like budget this year. But if you guys know that you guys are going to replace things when they break down, like, do you have a fluffier CapEx budget? I guess is my question.
I wouldn't say we have a fluffier one. The way we came into the laser was we got into some design build manufacturing with a company that is like super, we're on the verge of like machine tolerances, and our plas table just couldn't cut for what we were building. So we were subbing it out, and it just turned into getting big enough that it was like, okay, we need to really step up, and we can't continue to sub this out and have a decent margin on it. And then it just worked out perfect where we were like, okay, the plas table's at its useful life. I mean, we got like 13 years out of it. We're replacing bearings almost every month. This is kind of the wave that we need to move to. And then the company we were working for, committed to us a certain amount of money and saying, hey, you guys are willing to make this investment in us, so we'll make this investment in you so that you can, produce the capital, go buy this laser. So we did leverage from that standpoint. The smaller stuff, we do have a small CapEx budget, but I will say this is like the key. I tell everybody, we have a business strategist that we work with. She does all of our accounting. Like they audit our books without officially auditing our books. So they do all of our tax planning for us, business strategy. So when we have a large like CapEx that we need to do, we sit down with her and say, look, we're looking at this, like what's the threshold? And we go through the ROI, and she works through everything and kind of gives us either the green light or, there's no chance. And then we pretty much budget throughout the year. Like for our fleet, we know we're going to try and replace a truck or two a year. So we just plan on budgeting that out, but we don't really go over the top with, CapEx budgeting. It's just kind of as it comes, and we're really good with our money. So we don't operate off what's in the bank account. We operate off the books and with our business strategists and stuff. So there is stuff planned, I guess, in short, but like the laser was not something that was super planned. We just happened to be in a good spot when it was time to make the move.
That's great input, great advice. That business strategist, I think, that's tremendous. We have a 5-person outside advisory board that I think serves somewhat the capacity you're talking about here. And whether it's just a mentor or an official strategist or an advisory board, I would just highly encourage folks to have some outside counsel, that non-emotional counsel but someone that understands your business. You can't just go to you can pick the smartest person off the street. If they don't have situational awareness and understand your business, it's not going to be sound advice. So you need someone that is close enough that they understand the business, but not in the weeds and emotionally attached to it. And in this case of running $1 million laser by that person, to get that outside viewpoint, I think is tremendous. So I applaud you for doing that. I think that'll be continue to be a contributing factor to your guys' long-term success.
100%. Yeah.
For your size business, you guys are really, I think you're doing a lot of the right things for the size business you are.
Yeah, we really try to, honestly, I think it was all those years in oil and gas that teaches you how to weather a storm. I mean, you go from one day you're eating caviar and it doesn't matter if you're the best. When the price drops, you're eating ramen and nobody has a job, and you got to figure out how to survive through that, which is really what made us pivot. And we just learned diversity. Always be looking for new business opportunities. If you had asked me 5 years ago, did I ever think we'd be in design build manufacturing? I would have said no shot. Doing stuff to a 64th of a tolerance with 3/4 inch plate, I would have never thought we'd be doing things like that. But we just saw the need to just keep diversifying construction. It's busy here in Denver, but at some point it's going to slow down. And that was kind of our pivot to water and wastewater. Government work, the money's always a lot better guaranteed than private work is anyway. So it helps your cash flow. And that's, that diversity is, I think, the biggest thing any fabricator should be looking at, and it's scary. You're going to eat it on jobs for sure when you start to diversify, but you just got to push through and go back and sit down with your team and say, where did we miss and how can we improve for the next one? Because we are going to go after another one. Yeah,
for sure. So I've got a final question here, two-parter. What are you most excited about right now, and what's keeping you up at night?
I'd say, the thing I'm most excited about right now is, I think, just the future. We've got a really solid team, from our management to all the way down to the shop floor. We're really starting to build some guys with some long tenure and stuff. And our management team is young. We're all, 33 and down. But I'm really starting to see some of the managers come around and make strong decisions and really start to lead. So I'm really excited for what the future holds, kind of without, our president and my dad being retired and her getting out of it, and just see where we can take this place with the trajectory that we're on and the style of work that we're taking on. I think the thing that's keeping me up at night probably is the transition. I'm 29. I've been with this business my whole life. I worked for one other company in college, and there's just always a level of unknown. My mom and I work exceptionally together. People in family businesses are always like, oh man, that must be tough working with your parents. And my mom and dad and I have worked together so well for so many years. My dad and I have butted heads a little bit, but that's the rig welder in us. But my mom and I we complement each other so well, and we look at things from different perspectives, and it's really strong for us. So that's what keeps me up at night, because she has taught me so much on the business side of things. And I'm like, how am I going to grow into that? I know I'll figure out a way and I'll be all right. But I think being 29 years old, freshly married, not a lot of capital behind me, and biting off a business like this and having 25 or 30 people rely on us to keep it going and make sound decisions, it'll make you lose your hair. That's for sure.
Yeah, tell me about it. Well, Rob, something tells me you're going to be okay. I think you're doing a lot of the right things. I think even with your parents transitioning out, I know they're probably going to give you plenty of runway, because I think you've earned it, but I know they'll be there to support you. And if there's ever anything I can do to help at all, I would be happy to take a phone call anytime. I may or may not have the answer, or maybe have encountered this scenario before, maybe not, but that's what's awesome about our industry. So many people have helped me along the way. And so anyways, I just would love to help if there's ever anything I can do. And I think you're doing awesome stuff.
And Matt kind of lived
that. Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that.
What'd you say, Casey?
Well, Matthew, you kind of lived that, like at that. He was talking about the leadership team being at that 33 and under. I'm thinking that was I don't know. I'm probably gonna age you
the
a little
age
bit.
when
but
I
yeah,
was Rob,
that was when you guys were on.
Yeah,
that,
Rob.
like really on the.
Yeah, you're probably ahead of where I was at your age, but yeah, I mean, when I took over the business, it was 4 family members, and we navigated from 4 family members to a couple hundred folks here, and our leadership team's been relatively young too. I mean, we're all getting into our late 30s, early 40s now, but we've grown the business together. So I think really what we've done over the last 10 years is what's ahead of you in the next 10. So keep up the great work, man.
That's what I hope for, man. It'd be cool to be doing 1,000-ton jobs one day and really, be a large fabricator. That's what we're going for. And I'm blessed to have the team I do behind me, because I get my eyes set on something and they stand behind me 100% and figure out how to get us there. So, definitely grateful to have the people I have around me, because I couldn't do it day to day without them.
Well, I hope I can get through Denver sometime and visit you. I'd love to see your place. And if you're ever have a reason to come to Indiana, you're always welcome. We'd love to host you.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I'd love to see your facility. I mean, from the things I've seen online, it just looks incredible. And yeah, you guys ever swing through Denver, let me know. I'd love to show it to you guys. And, we're in the depths of succession planning. So if you guys ever have any questions, or anybody that has any questions, I'd, love to impart my knowledge on them, because it was a world of unknown 6 months ago, but now I've got a pretty good grasp on it. And there's just so many ways you can go about it. It's absolutely incredible. And that's the best part of having a business strategist as well that is in tax planning, because she's doing, our succession the best way to mitigate taxes. And you can save yourself quite a few dollars by mitigating taxes on a succession.
For sure. Well, Rob, it's been a great conversation. The way we wrap up every time, I think you know how it goes. If you're not making sparks,
You're not making money.
that's right. Keep that laser running, right?
Yes, sir.